applications. So we're going to click on Open, Launch your applications. And you should have a link that looks like this that says to compliance. If you don't have that on in your apps, then your OEDS administrator in the district needs to provide you access to the system. And I will go over what are the users that you have to have or what type of roles you need to have in OEDS here in a little bit. So if you do have access, go ahead and click on compliance. And you want to click launch. Now we're going to look at last year's compliance system because this year's will not be in here. However, later when you do go into compliance, you are going to find that it's going to have a very different look than what it has here. So right now I want you to go over and do select program. And you want to go into the Consolidated ESEA grants.
Diane, should we click on our school or the district?
You will click on the district because the schools do not have a compliance piece. We do the compliance visit through the district, and then when we visit the schools, we have school worksheets that we use for them as we're visiting and talking with them. So I'm going to pick on one of my favorites. And they know they're my favorite. They're one of my districts that I have. So because they're an A, begin with the letter A, they get to, oh, I'm sorry. See, I've already forgot. We need to change this back to FY 2020. Search. Then we're going to go in. Do you want to hit details? Now, all of this is going to be different in the new system, and I will try to show you a few screenshots of what that will look like later here, hopefully. So once you get into the compliance, what I want you to do is click on the questions tab. And we wait. I have had a few that have given this little circle a name, and I've picked up on it. It's called the Wheel of Death because you just sit there and watch it. Hopefully cloud will be much quicker. And somebody doesn't see my share screen. Is anyone else having problems with this?
Yeah, we can't see your screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man.
Let me try this again. It's not showing up. All right, Candace.
Yeah, it appears that some people can and some people can't see it. So give it another go and let's just see if that works. Okay, are we seeing this, guys? Well, she has a white screen.
I just refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
So
saying good now.
Yep.
All right, good. Sometimes when I go into a new system, it doesn't pick it up for some reason. So you can see that this district had 2 consolidated ESEA surveys, but we wanted to select the consolidated self-survey here. And if you click on the details, it's going to populate for you all the sections and the questions. what I think would be helpful for you, especially since it's not going to start until next year or December, you can go to where at the bottom of the side where it has all the different sections, click on Export to PDF, and it will create a list of the different sections and all the questions and the items of evidence that we typically look at, use, and ask for. Now, there are going to be some differences. However, they're not going to be that many. Some of the differences that you may see is there may be some request for, like, for example, the teacher schedules and the parapro schedules. There may be also some requests now for how do you evaluate if what you're doing is effective, which would be a comment, and if you have any TBT or data notes or meetings that you've discussed this, you would share. It does take a while for it to create the PDF, so you need to be patient. But once you click on it, it will pop up down below here in a PDF file for you, and you can then open that up, save it to your desktop, or print it out. Now, somebody wants to know if can we do that now for 2021? No, because the cloud version is not open yet for you to view. It is still in the process of being created. So that's why I showed you how to do this in 2020. So at least if you wanted to be able to go look through it and see what are the types of things that we asked for, you'd have a chance to do that now. Once the 2021 opens up, you will be able to do a PDF of the questions there and each of the evidence pieces. And we'll talk about how it might be helpful for you to use that to help you organize for your on-sites. If you have one, or your desk reviews, or even your self-survey, you need to have many people involved in helping you make sure the evidence is collected. So this is pretty much all I wanted to show you here, because really for me to go through and show you how to navigate through this would not be really very conducive for you, since it's going to be a whole new system. Have any of you, so I am going to get out of this by going back to, let's see, it used to be able to let me do this, but I don't think it does that anymore. Yeah. How many of you were here and used the One Needs assessment last year? If you use the One Needs assessment, you're going to be very familiar with what we will be using here soon. You're going to make me log out and log in. There we go. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how it will be organized. Again, you're going to go into compliance. However, the system itself is really, once you get into it this next year, it's going to look like our One Needs assessment is set up. So you'll log in this way. Instead of One Needs assessment, you're going to choose Consolidated ESEA. You'll have a search page just like we did before. But instead of having to go and look for that details button, you're just going to enter it through your search results by clicking on your district's name. Once you go in here, if you have multiple needs assessments or multiple compliance surveys, they'll all show up in this list, and you'll click on the one that you want to see or use. Since they only have one, it's already here. So the sections that we had in the old compliance system I showed you will still be along the side here. There will be additional sections this year. We'll have a section for the ESSER grant that is in your consolidated application. The non-competitive school improvement grant was a new grant that came out, and it will have its own section. We also will have a section for your property licensed teachers and a section for evidence-based strategies that will be over here. Since those are items that are asked for multiple grants, instead of asking you for the same thing over and over, we just pulled those out into one section. Sandy, we will be doing training on the new system and the navigation. Again, once the system is open, we'll be providing that to all districts. So if they're wanting us to show them how to navigate and get into the system, we'll have a webinar and a video to share with districts for that. So each section then has question groupings, and the needs assessment is set up in the same way. So for example, this section here is college and career readiness, but yet its subsection, which we have subsections in each of our grants. Our first one is parents' right to know, is titled here, and it's showing us in that first section or subsection, there are 4 questions that you would go through and answer, or 4 items that you would upload evidence for. We also will have, there is an area where it shows if it's required. That means you have to answer those questions because you received funding. If it's not required, then you're not going to have to answer those questions. You skip those and you go on to the groupings or the sections that you are required to respond to. This does not have it, but here you're going to have your upload function and your ability to add a comment here down on this side. And we'll have our section where we'll tell whether it meets compliance or it needs technical assistance, or that there's an issue and we need to work with you on a corrective action plan. So this is the system, and this is how it will look, and you will go through each of your different grants that you have over here, and you will answer each of the different groupings for questions. So as you click on one, it'll provide you. This one doesn't have groupings, so that's why it's the way it is. So, okay, now I want to show you some documents that we have, and I will upload these into the chat because I think they may help you. And I want to talk to you a little bit about organization. Because often what happens in a district is the person who is doing the federal programs feels as if they're completely responsible for the compliance on their shoulders, and that's not really the case. The federal programs are programs that are operating. You may be the person who's helping to coordinate, get the programs up going and implemented and running. You may be supervising those programs, but you have people that will be working that are also doing a lot of the work that's involved in those programs. And you need to be able to depend on them when it comes to compliance. For example, in the compliance system, you will see that there's a section on parent engagement in Title I. And there are required documents that each building is to have, as well as the district. Your building principals or whoever your parent coordinator or the building parent coordinators are in the building should be, they're the ones most likely that are going to actually be doing the parent engagement activities in the buildings, keeping the parent sign-in sheets for those activities, working with their staff to develop their plan for their parent engagement activities for the year and scheduling those. So they need to be able to keep those records for you or send them to you. Sometimes it helps for them to have a template so that they know to fill that out and provide it to you for evidence, but still the principal should be doing that, or your parent coordinator. The same with your homeless liaison. There are several things in there that you'll need for your homeless students and the district's, how the district reduces barriers and their enrollment process. Your homeless liaison should be able to provide those things to you. So what I recommend that you do is you take those questions that you've printed off if you have, and if you haven't, and go to those sections where it's other people in the district who actually would be able to provide that evidence, and give them that information now so that they know that you need them to provide it to you and to collect it and give them a date when you would like to have it. It'll require you following up with them, but at least it's not you running around trying to find something when they could easily probably put their hands on it for you. Okay, so let me get into the system here, and I will provide you a few documents that should be helpful. So this is the Office of Federal Programs, and this describes our risk-based monitoring system. And how do we decide which level of monitoring a district goes into? It also provides a description of each of the levels and what are required in it, and what are the risk factors that will determine whether or not a district may be monitored. This is, I think, would be helpful for you to be able to have and to look through and to read to become more familiar with the risk factors, along with those questions that you can download or print from your compliance site in the old system. I do want to show you a couple of screenshots that are going to give you an idea of what the new system will look like with compliance. June, can I share this with you so that you can put this in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's not what I wanted. I don't have a share thing here, June. Do I need to be in the SharePoint to share?
You shouldn't need to be. Try selecting Open in Desktop app, and then you may be able to see the share button. You just take a moment.
That's odd. We will be adding documents to this document library, as well as several other documents, hopefully by the end of this week. It's on my list of things to do. I just haven't had a chance to get it in there yet. All right, thanks, June.
No problem.
Okay, I want to show you some screenshots, and then so that will give you a little bit of a better idea of what everything will look like. Are you still seeing my screen okay?
Yes, Diane, we can see it. It's on Teams now.
Okay, good. This is giving you an idea of how much, when we're trying to create new programs and systems, there's a lot of work involved. So these are screenshots. This is community school surveys been completed. So I have screenshots of theirs that I can share. So as you look here at this question, don't do that. Don't do that. Hopefully you can see here underneath the item and the question, it says documents. There's your upload for your documents. Here are for you to add comments. And here is an area so that we can have communications. Let's say it's emails that we send to you, or you send to us. You can do it right from here. So you would click on here to add the document, and then over on this page, this section over here would open up for you to click on add a document. Once you would click on that, it's going to give you a drop down for you to select which type of document you're uploading, whether it's a fiscal document or a program document, a parent engagement document. And so you'll select that, and then it has a drag and drop feature that you can drag and drop it, or you can do a search here and put your document in here and upload. So it'll upload it right into the system. Once, if you need to add a comment, it would be simply clicking on the comment, and see, it'll even keep you a list. We have not been able to do this before, but if you chose the wrong document, you ended up picking the wrong one, you can delete now. Before, that option was not in the old system for you to delete documents if you made a mistake. And then your document list will go below this. When you open up to add new documents, you can find the list over there. So if you wanted to add a comment, you're going to click on comments, and it'll populate over on the left-hand side. It'll open up to a comment screen. And you will just type in your comments there and put add new subject or add new comment. And that comment will populate there on the side of the screen. And it'll show any comments that have been added for this on the side, along with you can continue to add more comments if you want. So it's fairly simple to navigate. Each comment will go underneath on the left-hand side so that you can see. Once you have added the documentation that's required, or you've added the comment that we've asked for, you're going to click the box. If it's a self-survey, that's all you have to do is go through all of your questions and click the box. If it's a desk review or an on-site, once you have completed everything, you're going to let us know that you are completed. And then we will go through and review. And we have on the side here will be the technical assistance issues, or I thought there was one that showed that up here. There. If it's green, that's good to go. If it's red, it's not. That's an issue. But if it's yellow, it's a TA. We're just going to give you a little bit more explanation on it. And then this means not applicable. So you didn't have to do it. So now I'm going to take questions, and hopefully I'll be able to provide you all the answers you need. I will tell you that we will be sending out notes probably in December, most likely in December, with a webinar on the new compliance system, as well as where to find a recording of that webinar then once we have it up and running and we're able to walk you through it, as well as talk about the requirements for the different monitoring tiers that we have. And finally, there is one last monitoring tier I did forget to mention, and that is if you have a desk or an on-site review this year and we end up finding an issue, we will do a follow-up desk review the following year on that issue, just to make sure that everything is working out okay in the district with it, and that you've been able to get those the action step that or action plan that you developed implemented and part of the normal processes and procedures for your district. So Now I'll get to some questions. Matt, there are some changes, but for the most part, they're the same. There's going to be a few additional questions in the system. The evidence hasn't really changed that much. As I said before, there are some things that we're going to ask for that maybe we haven't asked for before, such as teacher schedules or and the parapro schedules. Evidence that you're, monitoring. So, but it's just, it's very similar. So it will give you at least an opportunity to begin preparing and looking at what you need to be working on in the district. Let's see, Shanna, you clicked on the document, but it says I do not have access. Oh, is it the compliance one?
We can include the draft in the email that goes out after this session.
Okay, that's good then. All right, we'll just email it to you at the end of this since we have your emails. That'll work. Any other questions on compliance?
Diane, there were a couple questions submitted ahead of time. I haven't gotten answered yet. One is, where can I find low income data, which would be on your eligibility page in your
So
CCIP.
your building eligibility page is has your low income data, but your cafeteria, your free and reduced lunch report that your cafeteria has, if you've changed your page, or if you have changed what we pulled over that was in the system from last year's October count, you need to have a report that shows where you got the data you put into the building eligibility page. So it would only be if you've actually changed that building eligibility page from what we uploaded that's in the system, that you would need to have the documentation for it. Most of you have uploaded those, but some of you may have not uploaded the specific report that was used, whether it was your EMIS report or your cafeteria free and reduced lunch report, or for some of you, it could have been your Job and Family Service report that you used, for those who are free and don't have to have, they don't do any lunch and they don't have to pay for any of their materials or supplies either. For some reason, the term has escaped my mind on what they call that. But your building secretary would also be able to provide you that report. She has the report from Job and Family Services. If you're a CEP district, your cafeteria, director of your cafeteria should have your letter for your CEP. Those go out every 3 years. You get a CEP percentage that's good for 3 years, unless they decide they want to update it and submit new information. So they should have the letter that gives you the your CEP numbers and percentages for CEP. So, any other questions?
We had one more that was submitted ahead of time, and it was, where can you find a listing of auxiliary funds for non-public schools, as well as see current monies that have been allocated?
So the auxiliary funds are, if you're the fiscal agent for the auxiliary funds, those are in the NPDS system, but your treasurer will get a report, and they'll have access that will say not only what is their their allocation for those 2 years, because the auxiliary funds are for 2 years. And they have to spend all of those at the end of the 2 years. There's no carryover on auxiliary, but they'll also be able to tell you in which year they are. And then they will be able to tell you their payouts. They get information from the state that tells them exactly when they will receive the checks for the auxiliary. Now, if you're talking about your non-public equitable, because we do not monitor auxiliary. We only monitor the non-public equitable services, which is the part that you take off the top from your different federal funds to provide those services or those programs for your students who are attending those non-publics, or for those non-publics that are within your district of residence, if it's Title II, Title III, or Title IV, and IDEA. So they're very different funds. Auxiliary funds are state level funds, and their non-public equitable service amounts are funds that come through the U.S. Department of Ed, through the district for non-public schools. So if you want to know where to find out the amounts for your equitable service amounts, they are in your funding application on your non-public service pages that are included in each of the grants on the sections page. And if you're having trouble finding it, your federal programs consultant can navigate you to those pages and help you figure out those amounts. And that's its ESSER. That's a little bit more challenging because we don't have it tied into the system. All right, are there any other questions?
There was one in the side that says, how will we know when the training for the new system will be?
We send out a notice for trainings. So when the CCIP notes come out, please be sure to read those. It's also a good idea just to go into the doc library and check CCIP notes every once in a while to make sure you didn't miss one. And those are located in the doc library underneath CCIP. And it's the first item that says CCIP notes, and we have the most recent is on the top, and it goes progressively or descending order from when they were sent out. So especially if you're not getting the CCIP. If you're not getting CCIP notes, check to see in your address book who is listed as your funding application contact. Your treasurer receives them automatically. Your superintendent receives all of them. And then your treasurer, your funding application contact, would receive the third one. So you want to go into your address book and see who is listed there. If you need to change that, you actually have to go into revision on your consolidated grants and change that in your contacts there at the bottom of the page for the sections for your consolidated grant. So somebody want to know what CEP is? I'm sorry, we're so bad about doing that. That's the community eligibility program. There are districts that if they have higher than 60% of their students are eligible for free and reduced lunch, they can choose to go into a community eligibility program, which gives them a set amount that they would receive for reimbursement at their district. Usually more students then would be eligible for lunch. They don't have to pay for their lunch, and they're also eligible for a breakfast with this program. It's also at a certain point, and I'm thinking it's in the 70s somewhere, with the reimbursement percentage, at a certain point, it's 100% reimbursed, which means that all of the children in that building, regardless of their income, receive a free lunch and a free breakfast. So we have many districts that have chosen to enter into the CEP program. If you're interested in it, get with your lunchroom director and see if they've ever considered it. And you can actually go on ODE's website and go to child nutrition, and you can find information on the community eligibility program on their webpage. Okay, are there any other questions?
Apparently,
I
the document that
apologize
Sheen
for the
shared out-
acronym.
Said apparently the document that Sheen shared out is not accessible, so they were wondering if you could email it along with the recording.
Yes, we are going to email it to everyone. I think June had shared that.
Okay.
You were probably busy
Yeah,
trying to catch me up on all of our chats here. Thank you, Maggie. Please, if you have any questions or specific questions from anything that I've gone over, please don't hesitate to ask. That's why we have these sessions every month, because we do know that everything is new, and you need to hear it several times and see it several times until it makes sense. So, anything else?
I think we've touched on everything that was asked in chat.
Okay, I think so too. Has anyone here been able to receive a letter already from their consultant? So they know what type of monitoring visit they're going to have this year?
Diane, there is another question. If
I
the
see that.
compliance,
I'm
yeah.
looking at that because I have been working on the manual.
Is that an OEDS issue?
It is an OEDS issue. If you do not have access, you do need to get with your OEDS administrator in your district. Typically, it's your treasurer, superintendent would know who that person is. And we're almost done with our manual for people. And we'll be posting that here in the next week or so with those screenshots I shared with you. But I do have it in the manual, and I just want to make sure that I tell you correctly. I don't leave out any role. So your superintendent and your treasurer will have access. If you have data entry access to the CCIP, then you should have access to the compliance system. So if you're the superintendent or the treasurer, or you have data entry planning or data entry funding to the CCIP, which means you can actually go in and do edits on the planning side or the funding side, then you should have access to compliance then. So check with your OEDS administrator to see, but those are the roles that you need to have. Okay.
Do they just need to have one or the other? Just Either?
Yes, just one or the other, just one of those.
Okay.
Any of those roles will provide them access.
Maggie has another comment there on the side too.
Yes, Maggie, there is one. Do you know the audit that you received from the state auditor? Do you know what exactly they said they were auditing?
I can find out. Let me pull that up. I did send him all the documents that he requested. I think it was, let me pull up the email and see. Title I federal program at your district is all it said. The audit period, July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, fiscal year 20. He says he knows that I'm the new coordinator, but he just asked for if we had any other on-site reviews or audits of this federal program by any other agencies other than the auditor of state, such as ODE, U.S. Department of Ed, or anything. They wanted the semi-annual certifications completed for employees when documenting building eligibility requirements in the ODE, CCIP. What method does the district use to determine? I figured it was free and reduced lunch applications. The requirement process the district uses to ensure test security for assessments. And he asked for a few certifications for Title I employees to show that they have, met the test security assessments. So I was assuming that was completely something different than the compliance piece that you guys are talking about today.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot of those are items that we asked for also in our audit. So yeah, and so and you haven't received a letter from which district are you with, Maggie?
I'm with LeBray. Scott May is my consultant. He's awesome. He helps me out all the time, because I just feel like, I don't know what I don't know, just being so new. That's why I didn't want to come across as being rude, saying, hey, like, I'm like, okay, like, I want to know, like, okay, what do I need to have right now? I'm probably a little bit OCD over the top, but I'm just like, want to make sure I'm doing a good job. And, with the transitions we had of the old person retire, and we really, Scott took me through step by step some of the things to get me up and get me started in the beginning of the year, what needed to be finished. So I sign up for all of these trainings, but I keep reading everything I can get my hands on, but I'm like, oh geez, I gotta, go through this, and I'm sure I'll learn as I do it. I just need to relax a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to learn it all because it's not, for one thing, it changes. And as soon as you get it learned, you have to, the laws or the rules change a bit. But then the other thing is just there's a lot of layers to it. So don't be too hard on yourself. That's why we are here. And that's why in our office, every district has a consultant that they can call and contact because we know that it's complicated. And when you need an answer, as soon as possible. So. But I would say that I would recommend that you reach out to Scott and let him know, and then ask him, because he'd be able to tell you if you're a self-survey or if you're going to have an on-site or a desk. And he's, like he said, he's right there. He's going to be sending you out a notification soon. So, all right. Anyone else? You're right, Lisa. It's a lot to absorb. That's why we started these monthly sessions. This is our first year of doing these. We do the new Coordinators Academy, and that's why so many of our sessions at OAA SFEP are repeats, because every time you go, you learn something else that you may have missed the other time, because there is so much information for us to get out there and to share. All right, well, we have about 3 more minutes left. I do encourage you to don't be shy. It used to be when I was first started in federal programs, and we're talking a long time ago, it was like, oh, don't call ODE. You don't want to be on their radar. I mean, it was just like, if you called, you were pretty much guaranteed somebody was going to be coming. to see you. And that is not the case now. We want to come and see you just because we feel as if it's helpful. When we are able to come and sit down with our district's federal programs people and talk with them about their programs and what they're trying to do in their district and achieve and some of the challenges they have. But it's not like they called and we need to go do an audit on them. That is not, we've got the risk factors that we use. So there's no consequences for calling us. We're here to help you. We're here to support you, and we're here to make sure that there's nothing going on that might get you into a little bit of an issue later on. So we'd rather be proactive instead of reactive. So please call your federal consultant whenever you're struggling or you're not sure. And even if you just need to vent, because they understand. It was a learning curve for them too when they first became federal program consultants, because there's so much to learn. So I hope all of you have a good rest of the week and a great weekend. It looks like the weather might at least get a little bit better for us so that we might be able to get some more of those Christmas lights out. And stay safe. Stay safe. Thank you for calling in.